Thanks, you guys. Thanks for coming. And I'm excited to talk about this subject matter because I don't do it a lot. I do a lot of speaking about the Gentle Barn, about food, and about maybe a plant-based diet, and things like that. But it's not often that I get a chance to talk about, emergency evacuation services and things like that. But I want to back up for a minute and tell you a little bit about me, even though you heard a small intro. But I just wanted to kind of tell you where my sort of expertise comes from. First of all, starting way back when, loved fire trucks as a kid. No, I'm just kidding. I really loved what the Gentle Barn stood for. So if you don't know about the Gentle Barn is an animal sanctuary where we rescue abused, neglected animals that nobody else will take or nobody else will even go to rescue because they're in such bad condition. Or they don't have the facilities, or whatever it is. And we specialize in the rehabilitation of them. And I run the Gentle Barn as co-founder along with my wife and much better half, E.A.R.S. And she and I work together to heal these animals and then take their stories of abuse and neglect and connect it with children's and adults' stories of abuse and neglect too. So we work with inner city, at-risk, special needs, children and adults, rehabilitation centers of all different kinds. So that's kind of what the Gentle Barn does. But it kind of opened a natural door for the idea of animal evacuation. And we didn't really think too strongly about it until we were affected by the fires. So that's our big thing, right? Fires and now apparently floods. But either way, it's a natural disaster, which is what we kind of specialize in. And now after almost 20 years of doing this is what I specialize in and have taken it to the next level. So at the Gentle Barn, real quickly, we have a program, and it's called E.A.R.S. It's the Emergency Animal Rescue Service. And we specifically connected it with LA County. However, we do have 2 other locations in other states. The Gentle Barn has, it's a national sanctuary, and so we have 3 locations, one here in California, one in Nashville, Tennessee, and one in St. Louis, Missouri. They are very familiar with flooding and with any kind of air-related disasters, so tornadoes or things like that. But here it's mostly fires, wouldn't you agree? Ellie and I, we were affected by the 2007, I believe it was, wildfires that came through the Santa Clarita area. And when that happened, it really opened our eyes because we had a unique situation that happened, which I'm going to tell you about. But we had 2 hours to evacuate. At that time, I think we had about 70 animals. And I'm not talking about small animals, dogs and cats. I'm talking about horses, cows, pigs, sheep, goats, chickens, turkeys, dogs, cats, birds, llamas, peacocks, emus. And to get all of them out in 2 hours was an unbelievable feat. So Ellie and I were spending a nice day, and we were, kind of just hanging out with some friends of ours that were over. And fortunately, these friends have had fire experience like that before, where they've had to evacuate. And before we were in the location that we're in now in Santa Clarita, we were in the city, so we didn't really have the fire issue that we dealt with. Sure, we saw other people dealing with it, but we didn't really deal with it ourselves. So we're sitting around, we're having kind of a wonderful day and an afternoon, and got some food out, and everything's great. We got our friends over, and then we started seeing some smoke over the mountain, and we were thinking, oh, that looks really far away, so I'm not going to really pay attention to it. And then we heard that there was a fire in Agua Dulce, which is about 10 miles up the road. And we thought, well, it's far away. I mean, it's all the way in Agua Dulce, right? It's not going to mess with us. And then the smoke got bigger, and then bigger. And then I looked at Ellie and said, I'm going to go up to the top of the mountain, right at the top of our property. I'm going to go just see how close that fire is. And Ellie was like, oh, come on, it's just as far away. It's all the way in Agua Dulce. So I walk up to the top. I look out over the horizon. And that fire was coming and looked very close. So I ran down the hill, got to Ellie and said, we're out of here. Let's get out of here. This is crazy. I cannot believe this is coming. Now, I don't know if any of you have this kind of a setup, but we, all of a sudden, you know, when you stop for a second and go, uh-oh, what exactly does that mean? Now we got to get out of here with 70 animals. We started realizing we had one trailer for 2 horses. We had relationships with people, you know, so we knew that we could start calling for help, but then all of a sudden started realizing that everyone was needing help that was in the immediate area. So any kind of support that was really going to come to help us was going to come from outside of our area. So we started sort of panicking a little bit. Ellie and I do really well in emergency situations, so we weren't freaked out or frantic or anything like that, but we did have staff with us at the time that was very frantic. And we had to take a minute, really regroup, put those people on a path, and get them to stay away from the animals mostly because we didn't want their energy to transfer to the animals, which is going to be the first thing that we're going to talk about when I'm talking about solutions. But the solutions for the animals. The first thing we're going to talk about is this preparedness. You know, we started really looking around and realizing we were in trouble. We were really in trouble. If this fire came through here, how are we going to get out of there fast enough? So we got the office staff to start focusing on getting transport taken care of. So they got on the phones, they found people in the area, they started getting, you know, trailers over. We had another sanctuary in the area that helped us out, and we were able to very, very slowly, in our minds, get the animals to safety. I'll never forget the moment where I had borrowed a trailer that I was driving, and it could fit about 10 horses. And so I had taken the majority of our horses. And I'll never forget the feeling of driving away and leaving Ellie behind to care for and load up the other animals. And the feeling of how absolutely long things took. You know, so just driving to the evacuation site that was 15 minutes away, normally, in a fire with all of the rescue, you know, teams trying to come in and put out fires, blew up blockage on the roads, right? Because the police immediately stopped traffic because they don't want people coming into the area. You know, now what were we gonna do? You know, so that 15-minute drive ended up taking 45 minutes. 45 minutes. And we had to be out within 2 hours. And that wasn't because somebody told me we had to be out in 2 hours. If we waited until someone told us, they told us that we needed to evacuate 20 minutes before the fire was there. So thank God we had already started, right? So one way, 45 minutes, I finally got to the evacuation site, and I went to go offload the horses, and they said, you have to wait. There's one section of the fence that fell down, and we have to get that back out. And I said, I'm gonna tell you something. We're gonna put this trailer, and we're gonna block that spot while you do that, and I'm getting these horses off of here, unhitching and getting back. So I got them all off of the trailer. I was in brief communication with Ellie. She was dealing with most of the animals already gone, but one blind steer that weighed almost 3,000 pounds and wasn't your best friend walking on a lead rope, and 2 draft horses that one of them weighed 2,600 pounds, the other one about 2,200 pounds, or maybe 2,100 pounds, okay? And she had herself and one other person. And they ended up having to take them out onto Sierra Highway, onto the street, and hope that somebody would show up. So I think that we got the steer off first, and then she was standing there with 2 horses. And sure enough, through the smoke, 2 trailers pulled up and said, and Ellie's thinking, oh my God, you know, I hope that this is gonna be an opportunity where we can get our horses out of here. But who knows? They pulled up and said, hey, we saw your cry for help on social media. We're here to help you. Do you have any animals you need us to take? And she's like, how about this draft horse. And so both of them got out of there. Now, we didn't know where they were going. We didn't know who these people were, although they were wonderful and angels who came to help us. We didn't know them. We didn't know how we were going to find them. We were totally unprepared. Not to mention the fact that we didn't even have our own trailers and we had all these animals. And you know what? You don't think about that kind of stuff. You're dealing with your everyday thing, money's an issue, timing's an issue, all those kinds of things, but you don't think about it. So we started realizing very quickly after we kind of dealt with the situation. Oh, by the way, I'll just jump back to say, as Ellie drove away, I couldn't get back to her before it was too late. Once I got back to the area, it was already Ellie saying to me that our house was gone. It wasn't, just to give you the spoiler alert, but she had turned around, saw the flames coming down, and it looked like the house was gone. When I pulled up, I wasn't real interested in hearing our house wasn't going to be there anymore. So I got up there with a garden hose and put out the fire that was on our roof of our garage and ended up saving the house. Now here's a discussion that we have to have about this really fast. It's about what to do with our wonderful 100% necessary, 120% necessary, our rescue services, right? So you've got the sheriff's department's usually out, managing traffic and putting up roadblocks. You've got the fire department coming in and trying to weave in and out through all of that. You've got radio dispatch happening with helicopters and water dumps and all that kind of stuff. You've got all of the other police officers and things like that trying to keep people away. Their job isn't to go, come on in, let's go save your house. Or come on in, let's go and save your animals or whatever. Their job is to say, you're not going back in since you left. I've become very good at working those things out. I also have relationships with the county and things like that now that we have this E.A.R.S program. But at that time, I didn't. And you have to make some really tough decisions as to whether or not you're going to break their line, or you're going to find another way around, or you're going to get out and walk, or you're going to figure out a way. I'll tell you that I would highly recommend always respecting our authorities, but that day I found another way around. And I knew the area because I at least had that planning. And so I was able to get through on a dirt road, and it was like a fire road, and I got to my house. The battalion of firefighters was down on the street. The fire was coming down the mountain and had already gotten onto the roof of the garage. They didn't know that, and had I not gotten back there, we would have lost our house. And I motivated them to get up there. They got a helicopter out. They went to do a water drop on the mountain, which ended up spraying the house, and $100,000 of damage on the house. But we didn't. The animals were safe. We were safe. The relationship that happened with the people that were there was we were in denial. The woman that was there and hanging out with Ellie had already packed us. She was packing, and Ellie's going, "Come on, you don't need to do that. It's okay." And she had already packed us, so she knew, that we were out of there. Anyway, I wanted to give you a little bit of this story so that you could, feel some of the panic that we were in and why we've developed the program that we have. So now, where we sit today, after dealing with, 10 or 12 wildfires ever since, is we have this new E.A.R.S program. So I went after a grant, and I got a grant to establish a command center. And so we built this command center. It has radio dispatch, it has satellite servicing, it has all kinds of, rescue equipment inside, hard hats, lights, axes, fire extinguishers, hoses, you name it. And the purpose of that unit is to drive that unit either into a small accident or situation where it itself can be the solution, or it's to drive into a fire camp, into the command center, where the fire department, sheriff's department, and animal control are based, base camp, if you will, and park it there as the liaison between us and all the volunteers that we have, and our other vehicles. So we have other trailers now. We have enough trailers for all of our animals, and we have enough equipment for all of our animals, like very kennels and different crates and cages and things like that to get our animals to safety now. And we also have developed an incredible list of different volunteers who have different kinds of equipment that can come out and support us. And just to acknowledge Adam sitting there too. Adam is one of our volunteers who has been with us for the last 12 years or so, and a very good friend who also shows up out of like nowhere and is there to drive a vehicle. So we're very grateful to him and his family too. Casey is here, and Val also has done a lot with that too. But anyway, that's what's really important. What's really important, even if you're not a sanctuary or you're not a big rescue or you know any of that, if you're in an individual home and you have some animals, it's important to communicate with your neighbors, with the local team of people who get together and talk about this kind of work, and make sure you have phone numbers of people to call when you're in that kind of a situation, right? So that was the idea behind E.A.R.S. It was going to let people know this is how you handle this kind of stuff, and this is what we've gone through, and this is what we're willing to provide. So if you're near us, or if you're actually in LA County, and we're a little bit, I think we're in Ventura County here, but we would invite people to contact us, do a little preliminary evacuation stuff. So if you don't want to wait until the last minute, you can get your animals out early. That's what we're all about. Don't wait around. Use it as an opportunity to try out your rescue program. Maybe your evacuation system needs some, oil on the hinges or whatever. Use the opportunity to get your animals out. The last thing you want to do is wait until you have 20 minutes left, because then it's a matter of life and death. And we figured out some statistics that have been really interesting in LA County. In LA County, it's 67% of all people who do not evacuate during a fire are not evacuating because of their animals. That is a huge number, and it's really helped me in communicating with the different agencies that help in these disasters, because now it's not about saving animals. See, their big thing is just saving people, right? What are we about here at RescueCon?
Animals.
We're about saving animals, right? Those people, they love animals, they have their own animals, all that kind of stuff, or maybe they don't, but they're about saving people. But now, all of a sudden, that statistic really opened up the ability for me to be able to communicate with our county, because now we're rescuing people. 67% of those people won't evacuate because of their animals. Now there's a problem that they have to have a solution for. So you're starting to see some other search and disaster rescue teams popping up in LA County, LA City, stuff like that. We've been trying to spend more time in training them, because 90% of the time they don't know what they're doing. And that's not because they don't mean well, they don't want to do well, they just don't have the training. Rescue a dog, rescue a cat, they got it. They're in, they're good. Horse, cow, pig, motivating a pig to walk. Who's done that before? Who's had to motivate a 1,000-pound pig to go somewhere? Forget fire, forget anything. Just go over there, right? That's hard enough. Now, put a fire in the mix, the smell, right? Because they've smelled it a long time before you did. They've heard it a long time before you did. Now motivate that animal, that horse, even that dog. Any of the animals, motivate them to go and do something. With a fire or a disaster in the mix, your energy's different, their energy's different. That's a whole different story. So just a quick little side story. Make sure I stay right on time. Quick little side story. There was an accident that had happened on the 210 freeway. 118? 210. It was a 210. And we were called, we know a lot of the police officers and highway patrol and different fire rescue safety people. And we got a phone call saying, this accident just happened. Our team is very far out. Is there any way that you could come and help? Trailer tipped over, and there are 2 cows that are pregnant, and 3 sheep that are in the back of this tipped over trailer. And will you come and help? So we very quickly got, on the move and got out there. And when we got out there, we quickly assessed the situation and started to set up. But as you might have already experienced as a rescuer, because I'm imagining a lot of us are rescuers in the room, insurance, codes, laws, rules come into play when it comes to saving an animal. as opposed to when you're saving a person, right? Now we have Good Samaritan laws. You know, you can be a good citizen and go and help somebody. You're not going to get sued for it, you know, and obviously if you do something negligent, maybe you would. But you can go and help somebody and things like that. But if you want to help an animal, and you don't have, you're set up with the LA County programs and things like that, or a volunteer or something like that, they'll stop you. And so these animals were sitting there in this rolled over trailer, and we were being sort of held back to do what we needed to do. Finally, the animal control team, showed up, and they, sort of used our equipment and stuff like that to get set up, which we were very happy to help with. But when it came to knowing how to get a cow up off the ground, they just didn't know. And they've done some recent training, so I'm thinking that they're probably in a different place now, which is really cool. But who knows how to motivate a horse to stand up, and who knows how their legs are supposed to look when they're getting up? One person in the room, 2 people, I know for sure Ellie knows. 3. So for a horse, when a horse gets up, they put their legs straight out and they push themselves up. That's how a horse gets up, right? They got to tuck their back legs under, and they have to pull up with their front legs. For a cow, who knows how a cow gets up? Yes? No?
Yes.
Maybe? Yes? Cows are exactly the opposite. Cows need to tuck their arms under, and they need to roll forward and put their weight in front of them and push up. But these people didn't know that. And so the cows were stuck behind the lip of the door. So the doors would be this way, but now they would turn on the side, and so there was like this lip with a step that they had to get over. So they had to kind of scooch back a little bit to get their legs under. But what they were doing was they were thinking that they got up like a horse. So they extended their legs out over that lip, and it made it so that, they virtually impossible, physics or physics, they couldn't get up. To the point where they had to cut a hole, like a tin can in the top, or now the side, which is now the top, of the trailer, and tin can, cut it open with the jaws of life, and hoist the cows out. Horrible expense for the county. Lost one of the cows. Horrible expense for, the cows. We had taken the sheep, we had put them into our trailer where it was very hot out. It was air conditioned. We brought their temperatures down because sheep and goats tend to overheat very quickly and have horrible experiences with stress. So we got them in, we got them calmed down, stuck them in there with Ellie, who was singing to them. That was awesome. I went back to try and help them with these cows. And what was really amazing was I was able to sit back with their captain, who was wearing, remember, if you ever want to know who the captain is, white hat. They're all wearing the white hats. Sat back with him and I just narrated. I just said, okay, I get that I need to step back and not be in this right now. You're welcome to all my equipment. But I'm going to narrate for you as to how I would be doing it, as opposed to how they're doing it now, so that maybe you'll want to inspire us to be doing some training with them and things like that. Maybe they'll do a great job, but let's take a look together. So he was kind of like, all right, I'm going to talk with this guy and I'm going to see how our team does. Their team did okay, except for those key things. And so I pointed those out along the way. And I was pointing out how they were hoisting them and what they were doing and how they were dragging them to get them into the trailer. They had these plastic mats that you could drag an animal with and not hurt them, but the way that they were doing it and what they needed to do, they ended up breaking one of their legs, which is why the cow couldn't make it. And by the way, I don't blame them at all. They were doing their very best. They were just needing more training. So Ellie and I have been a part of some of that training. That was really effective for us, and also my getting to know that captain and some of the other key people, which has really furthered our ability to be called in these events and be brought in. What I wanted to talk about as far as your involvement in your own home or in your own rescue is the plan. So jumping back into that for a quick second, the most important thing for you to do is think about timing. Timing. How long will it take you to take all of the crates that are upstairs in the attic, on the back side of the attic, underneath 16 blankets and 14 trunks, and behind all the suitcases and travel gear, and skis and sleds and whatever, right? So how accessible are your emergency things? Think about yourself also. You know, it is very, of course, important to get your loved ones out, which includes your animals, but you need to also think about yourself and your important things. Ellie has put together a wonderful sort of like suitcase that has all of our important documents in it. It's locked, it's safe, you know, all that. But it's there, you grab it and you go. And it has some of the, you know, important things to us. What's your currency, right? What's important to you? Well, we wanted to make sure we have birth certificates and travel documents and identification, bank account stuff or whatever, but also some baby memories, you know, and things like that that aren't digital, and, you know, baby books and things like that. So, you know, you want to have that kind of ready to go so that you can focus on the things that matter. Have enough crates. Have enough crates for your animals. If you don't have the transportation for your animals yet, at least connect with somebody that does. Hey, if there was a fire in my area, and it can't be somebody next door, why? Because they're going to be evacuating at the same time, right? Find somebody outside of the area, but not too far, that would be willing to come and help you in the event of a fire, and reciprocate by saying, I don't have a trailer, and you have a trailer, and I really need you, but I will be there at your place to help you load yours, or to help you pack up, or whatever, if there's a fire. You can count on me. Can I count on you? Right? Now you have at least one person that you know is going to come. If you can get 2 or 3 or 4, great. But at least have one. The other thing is that focusing on when you're not there. I brought with me these things for you. One is a brochure that's about the E.A.R.S program. So Casey here is going to pass them out for you. The other one here is for first responders. So if you don't have one of these, now's your chance to get one. We'll pass them out in the room. We also have them over at our booth. But this right here is, in case of a fire or emergency, please rescue our pets. And there's one for horse, cow, other dog, cat, and you can have that right on your front door. Where do you put it?
Front door.
Front door. Why the front door? Because on the window to the side of the door, when there's a fire and smoke pouring out of the house, first responder's not going to see it. It has to be right here. I tend to be a first responder on a lot of this stuff. If I roll up and I see a house that doesn't have any movement in it, doesn't have a sticker on it, and things like that, I'm focusing on large animal outside. You know? Because I can't break into somebody's house and see if they have a bird or a cat or whatever. So,
Thank you.
absolutely. Gentlebarn, if you live near us, is a great opportunity for you to get on a list of places that will come to your aid if you need help. During a fire, you'll probably have to reach out to us and say, hey, I'm around the corner from you. I have 3 horses. You know, can I be on your list? And can I call you in the event of an emergency? You get to know us, and then we'll come get you. You know, or vice versa. You have to say the same thing. Never make somebody the only one to do the work. I want to kind of open to a few questions right now, if you guys have any, because I want to share another kind of rescue story with you guys, a movie that I've got queued up. Because there's another kind of rescue, right? The other kind of rescue is a non-emergency rescue. Well, emergency to the animal, but not a natural disaster. And just to not be too scatterbrained really quick, just to say, if you do those 2 things, if you have some preparedness and crates and whatever you need at your place, and you have a relationship with someone who can get you out, or you have your own trailers or whatever to get yourself out, that's a very, very good start. I'm not going to confuse you with 15 things that you should go home and do. But I'd be very open to receiving an email or a contact to talk to you about it if you have a sanctuary or if you have a place that requires more than just a single household and you need advice. I'd be very open to doing that. That's why we're there. We have a grant to support that, and the program's a great program. But the other side of what I do is rescue work. for animals in need. And one of the things that I've realized is this big falsehood that exists in what the industry says that an animal's life looks like and what their life is really like. And just so you know, I'm going to show you this movie. None of the movies that the Gentle Barn ever puts out are graphic. They're sometimes sad, and they sometimes have, you know, situations in them that are aggressive, but we don't show anything gory or any kind of, you know, horrible imagery because we don't believe in doing that as the Gentle Barn. We believe in being gentle to everyone, so I don't want to put something bad into you to have to make a change in your life or show a story, so or share a story. Just to set up the movie that I'm going to show you guys, and I'll take a couple questions if you have any first, this is a rescue that we did in Texas. We were called in, if any of you have heard of Mercy for Animals, we were asked to participate in this rescue with them. And what this was a situation where there was a cow rearing company. And so does anybody know what a cow rearing company does? A cow rearing company is responsible for growing calves into dairy cows. And only females, because the boys can't make milk, and so they slaughter the boys. And then if the girls are sick in any way, they slaughter them too. And the other ones live a life of being raised as veal, in veal crates, or they become a milking cow, and that's their life. So we were called in because this company was identified as an organization that was doing it the wrong way. They were being very aggressive to the animals. They were going the cheap way out so that they didn't have to pay a lot of money to do proper slaughter, things like that. And so we were called in to rescue some of the cows out of there while there was an undercover agent inside. I want to say in all the rescue work that I've done undercover, I've done all kinds of different stuff. This to me was one of the most scary for me because I was being someone else. I had to be the guy who was the undercover worker at the rearing plant. I think there were about 10,000 cows there. And by the way, I don't think you can even, if you haven't seen that before, you cannot imagine what 10,000 cows look like. If you turn around in this room and you look at the chairs that are in here, I'm going with, 200 chairs maybe? Turn around and look at how many chairs that looks like. Now think about 10,000 chairs. You know, it's such a big number. But going into this thing, it was that I was his uncle, and I just wanted a few cows for my own place, and they were helping me out. And the thing about this place is that these people were scary. They were willing to hurt beings. They were willing to hurt animals. The way that they spoke, the way that they behaved, the way that they looked made me feel unsafe. So this was one of the more deep, situations. Plus, I had cameras all over me. I had a camera on me. I had a camera in the trailer. I had a camera on the truck. I had McDonald's bags all scrunched up and put all over the place so that I played the part. Anyway, we'll play that for you in just a second. Before we do, anybody have questions? Adam, do you want to cue that up? You ready to? What's that? Okay. Anybody have any questions that they want to ask before we go into the movie?
And if you guys watching on the live feed have any questions, ask them now. I'll tell Jay what your questions are.
Yeah, one of the things that we're doing right now is we're streaming my talk live on Facebook. So do we have any questions there that anybody wanted to ask?
They're saying how much they love your talk, but I don't see any questions yet.
All right. Thank you very much for loving the talk. What we're going to do for you guys is we're going to cut the live feed. If you want to go watch the E.A.R.S. Cattle Company movie on our YouTube channel, gentlebarn YouTube/gentlebarn, and then you can find the E6 Cattle Company movie. You can go ahead and watch it there, and thanks for joining us. And for the rest of you, anybody?